Welcome to Thriving at the Beach podcast. I'm Peggy Masterson, and I'm delighted to be your host. I am the director of the Partnership Grand Strand Foundation, and in case you haven't heard about us, we are the nonprofit foundation that is an extension of the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce. Partnership Grand Strand was created by local businesses to serve local businesses, and we serve everyone across all 14 communities that we often and fondly call the Grand Strand. Our work puts us in a unique situation where we get the opportunity to collaborate and support many of the organizations that are busy building a better tomorrow in our area. This gives us a wonderful opportunity to collect the details surrounding these growth initiatives and then share them with you. That's really why we created this podcast. There's so much amazing work, we just had to find a way to get it out to you. I could not be more excited to be able to facilitate a way for our guests to tell you their stories, to share the initiatives that they're working on, and give you a peek under the tent on what's coming to our community. I hope you'll catch this wave of momentum and then share it with others. So let's dive right in. Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to our newest episode of Thriving at the Beach, where you know our primary goal is to get you excited about the future of the Myrtle Beach and surrounding areas. And we do that by giving you an opportunity to meet some of the people that are busy working behind the scenes to power our success. I'm super excited about our conversation today because we are going to be focusing on the ever-important lodging and hospitality business. This business, as we all know, is so critical to the Myrtle Beach area. And today our guest is Alberto Semidei. He is the Director of Sales and Marketing for the Sheraton Hotel right here in Myrtle Beach. So welcome, Alberto. We're so glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Peggy. I'm thrilled to be here.
I am super excited to hear about not only your background as it relates to the lodging and hospitality business, but also to share with our audience a little bit about how it works here in Myrtle Beach and what might be unique and so forth to specifically the Sheraton, because I think there's some things as it relates to that structure that will be really helpful to learn. But first, I want to tell our audience a little bit about you and give you a chance to fill in the blanks and tell us your story. But what I know about Alberto at this moment in time is that he is originally from Puerto Rico, but he actually grew up in Vermont. Very interesting. I'm sure he'll elaborate on that. He's been in the hospitality industry for 27 years, and he arrived here in Myrtle Beach in 2017. He is a devoted family man and an athlete. Both he and his children are very active in martial arts, which I think is super cool. So with that kind of very broad intro, Alberto, can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you got in hospitality and what brought you here to Myrtle Beach?
Sure. So I, like you mentioned, born in Puerto Rico. My mother ended up moving up to Vermont with my sister, business, etc. I went to high school in Vermont. Attended the University of Vermont, and while there I started working in hospitality, took a serving job, and quickly saw myself growing, became a banquet captain within 5 months and banquet manager within 6 months after that. While it quickly made it clear to me that I had found my niche, love people, love serving, and hospitality gave me so much in abundance to do so. That's how I began, and from there I saw myself quickly growing. I started in banquets, like I said, and then I moved into front office. I've always worked at large convention-type properties or big box properties, however you want to call them, convention centers. Moved to Florida, where I was able to again go to 250,000 square foot meeting space property with 1,000 guest rooms. The Diplomat, at the time the Westin Diplomat, was in there and joined the HR. From HR, it was very nice being able to work with employees, but I quickly found that I was best suited to be serving in the front of the house and moved into sales and marketing, where I've been now for 21 years.
Wow.
Yeah, the last 10 of those have been as director of sales and marketing, and it's a passion. It's a passion to be able to serve people. My role allows me and my team to really dictate and help as much as we can in vast areas of the needs.
You know, it's interesting as I hear people's stories, much like yours and mine too. We learn along the way what we're really most comfortable in and best at, right?
Yes.
Sometimes we think, oh, going into HR might be the, next best step for me to grow my career, but you find out along the way that you can better serve in
Yes.
other capacities.
Yes.
And you are the face of the Sheraton here, in many ways to the community. And it's just really, I think, says a lot about the fact that you've been in the industry for so long, and it's never kind of gotten old or, grown, I guess, weary, that it's always stayed, kind of a passion for you. And I think that comes through in all of your conversations that at least you and I have had. So tell me a little bit about your family and what you do when you're not working.
Well, my entire life is devoted to my family. Everything I do is in devotion.
Love that. Mm-hmm.
I'm an avid, like you mentioned, an avid athlete. My kids and I are heavy into martial arts. That's what we've chosen. As far as I'm concerned, as a 45-year-old man, it's really about keeping myself healthy for them, but also the camaraderie and the bonds I've built with them and the community that we have built around them. It truly takes a village, and we have a very strong village. It's really nice when other people are saying points that you're making, but because it's not dad or mom making them, the connection's deeper within the children, and then those conversations become deeper for us. So it's been wonderful thus far.
It's more than just a sport in many ways.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. The reason I chose martial arts, I grew up in martial arts. I only had, like I mentioned before, I only needed my son to do 3 hours a week. I would have been happy with. I just wanted him to build a foundation of protection and self-defense. It was beautiful because I hoped that it would turn into what it has, which is about 10 to 15 hours, depending if we have competitions. And I don't push any of that. That's all him. I'm just here to support, encourage. But not once have we had any opportunities where I'm having to be coercing him to train. Mm-hmm. That's not happened once in 4 years.
I love that.
Yeah.
You planted a seed, and now you're just really kind of watching it grow.
What I did notice is I cannot slack.
Oh.
Whenever I say that I want to take a day off, you work a long day in hospitality, and I think I'm going to take tonight. That's quickly when he looks at me and goes, "Oh, can I take the day?" And from his perspective, I put in 10 to 15 hours a week, so why can't I take a day? So at that point, it was noted, I got to get to training.
It's like having an accountability partner.
That's it. He is very good at that.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you for that. We appreciate it. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of make sure we wove into this conversation for the podcast is an opportunity for you to help our listeners understand the relationship between the Sheraton and your role, the city of Myrtle Beach, and the convention center. Because I think, obviously your buildings are tied to one another,
yes.
But I think it'd be really helpful for folks to understand how does that relationship work, and who owns what, and how does it all come together?
Sure. So City of Myrtle Beach owns the convention center, of course, as well as the Sheraton Myrtle Beach. Obviously, for conflict of interest, we have a fantastic management company that handles the day-to-day operations of the Sheraton, so that there is no involvement as far as other parties. Ambridge Hospitality, which actually is the largest third-party management company in the world, is our management company.
So is that who you work for?
That is correct.
Okay, got it.
I'm a humble servant to our community, so I proudly say that I work for the community, and in doing so, I also work for Ambridge Hospitality.
Perfect.
Yes. We work hand in hand with our counterparts within the convention center. The Sheraton Myrtle Beach is adjacent, so everything we do, it has to be in partnership. One cannot succeed without the other, and that's something that we talk about very often. We need the CVB to be involved in collaborating with us as we plan the future, and we need the cohesiveness between the convention center and the Sheraton to ensure that we're maximizing space, rooms, and the things that our clients, the amenities that they require. So working as a team is something that's extremely important, and it's a day-to-day job.
So this third-party management company that you mentioned, do they also manage the bookings at the convention center, or is someone else handling that?
So no, the convention center itself has its own sales team, as we do, and that's what I mean about working in tandem.
Sure.
We meet monthly as a team, but then it's the individual sales managers are in constant contact with each other and coordinating events and groups. Sometimes we have groups that don't require the convention center. Sometimes there's convention center groups that don't necessarily require much from the Sheraton. So making sure that we are in constant communication and collaborating is imperative. It's imperative.
So from the chamber's perspective, you're working really closely, I imagine, with like Bob Harris from the, sales department here as it relates to
Absolutely.
group sales.
Absolutely.
And
Bob is
certainly-
instrumental player in the success for Myrtle Beach. I am a big proponent for specifically the group convention business and what it can provide to our wonderful community. Myrtle Beach is a very transient market still. The majority of hotels cater primarily to the transient guests. We were built for conventions and we were built for meetings. We don't have all the pools and those amenities that you come to expect from resort-like.
Surely.
And we focus very much on sticking to what we were built for. And we have seen great success in that. We have seen wonderful evolution of the business that's coming into the market, the segmentation of that business that's coming into the market. And slowly but surely, we're seeing that shift that we're all working so hard for. Convention business brings great money to the market, especially when we're focused on the off season. And that's really where my focus is. 2017, when I moved here, I came in September, so right after Labor Day, and I got to see that pre-Labor Day and then after Labor Day, and it was an interesting scenario to see how the market operated. We have focused specifically on those group months off season. Again, going from a 4-month season, 8 months off, to now, I would say we being the Sheraton specifically, I would say down season or off season is really 2 to 3 months, if that. And that's really amazing because those months also have the holidays. January and February are no longer the months that everyone was so concerned about. Actually, those tend to be our best months now. So it's truly about finding those right partnerships and ensuring that we're bringing the right groups. Those groups are spending in all the restaurants, in all our amenities with it around the beach. And everyone's benefiting from that. And I like to think that that's a major component as to why we're seeing such a shift as well in the off-season marketability of Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, I know that I've seen some of the, chamber's marketing numbers and so forth from a tourism perspective. And it's good to know you're seeing the same thing from a business and convention standpoint, that they've really, in the last, 8 to 10 years even, have just really closed that gap from a seasonality perspective. And that speaks volumes for the work that they're doing as well as the work that the convention center and the Sheraton are doing. One of the things that I would love for you to share a little bit is when we spoke before the podcast, you had shared, oh my goodness, we're booked out for, probably longer than we've been booked out in the past, that we've got so many things, so many good things happening. I wanted to see if you could just share a little bit about how has that changed and grown, and how would we get our mind around kind of what that means to the local economy here?
Sure. So for us, it's very different from any other hotel in the market. Let me start there. Being the amount of space and the amount of rooms that we have available, and how that could all be broken down, maximizing and making sure that we're optimizing our space and meeting space as much as possible, it is adamant that we have about a 3 to 5 year cycle looking ahead.
Oh, wow.
pacing out and making sure that we're pacing correctly from now until the time that we arrive on date. We were doing that 5 years ago when it came to 2025. Okay. And that is the one way we're able to really ensure. Right now, we're having our best year ever.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And in my almost 8 years here, this will be the third time that we are achieving this. So we're trying to better best. And I don't say that, I take that very seriously because this year has been very encouraging. It has opened my eyes as to the possibilities for the convention center, for the Sheraton, for the market. And it all goes right back to that partnership that I was saying, ensuring that we are working as a tandem so that we're filling the full box as well as possible. Again, us doing so permeates. So many of these groups need overflow hotels. So we have a lot of citywide programs in that sense. But you
You can help folks, like if a group comes in and the majority are staying at your property, you can send them, you have a network to send them to the overflow to other.
We work very closely with our overflow hotels, our partner hotels in the area. We are not just here for us. We can't be.
I love that.
This is not, when you're working in a position where you're helping manage and lead what goes into the convention center, you got to keep in mind how that affects the community. A lot of our groups require overflow. We have 400 rooms. And while that sounds like a lot, we host a lot of groups with 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 guest rooms and, throughout their pattern. So we work very closely with them. But again, this is where the CVB is extremely helpful to us, primarily when we're talking about those groups further out. Hotels, in fully understanding their scenario, they're hesitant to want to necessarily extend rates to groups too far out. But unfortunately, if we are not setting up a package, a lot of these groups quickly say, hey, we cannot move forward if we don't have an understanding of what's available for our guests. So it's not just a partnership of the campus of the convention center and us and then the CVB, but it's also CVB with the partners and us with the partners hotels in regards to who the groups are, how, what kind of risk are they really taking, if any, and trying to ensure that we're all collaborating. Again, It's all about collaboration.
It's interesting to really pause for a moment and think about all of what goes on behind the scenes when these big conventions do come to the area, right? I mean, that coordination and that, like you say, collaboration.
Everyone. It affects everyone. You can see it when we had the car show last weekend. You got to be coordinating, thinking of our police departments. You got to be coordinating, thinking of our services that we provide the community, how traffic is going to be impacted. There's a lot of things that go into what we do in regards to how are we helping.
Yeah, and I love that mindset because I imagine that willingness to collaborate and really kind of solve problems. Like if I'm Bob Harris and I have a huge convention that is considering Myrtle Beach, to know that he has a partner in you and others in this area that are going to alleviate all of the barriers to get that convention to come here, I think that's huge. And I think it's understated. I don't know that people really pause and think about how that works and the value that brings to the market. So thank you for your leadership in that space.
I appreciate you mentioning that because that was one of the first things that I tried to convey to Bob when I first met him is I'm an ally. I'm here for the greater good of Myrtle Beach. That's wherever I am. That's the same, I'm a humble servant at heart for our community and for the people around me. So I like to think that if today's my last day on this earth, that I'm going to be smiling, looking back. So that's the ultimate goal. And, but there is a lot on the behind the scenes that need to go to coordinate to make sure that things work properly. And there's a lot of details. There's a lot of details, and some of those details overlooked can become big challenges. So, we're committed to the day every day.
If you think about it too, I mean, if a group comes and has an amazing experience, right, because of the attention to detail, they're going to come back, right? And I bet that if you were to go back and look, and maybe you already know this, but my guess would be somebody that came and experienced Myrtle Beach and had a great time, maybe 8, 10 years ago, has come back repeatedly because they know that they're well taken care of, and they know that their guest will have a good experience as well. Do you have a lot of repeat, I guess is what I'm
Well,
saying?
you just really hit on that one. Here I've experienced something that I've never seen before, not in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, no other market. And I speak to my counterparts and they all kind of look at me with a surprised face. And I will say that this is a nod again to what we're speaking of here, building relationships, collaborating, not just within our internal, but with our clients, open communication, and ultimately building loyalty both ways, especially when things aren't going right. Because it's easy to show loyalty when things are going right. It's show me the loyalty when something doesn't go right. Even if I cannot meet you a full way, trying to meet you somewhere in the middle, I hope that that would be conveyed as me wanting to help as much as I possibly can. And COVID time was a perfect example where we actually had quite a few groups come back to us within 2020 and 2021, that a couple regional clients that made a point to come into the market just to sign multi-year contracts because they wanted us to understand the loyalty the way they felt the loyalty from us when it came time for them to have to cancel out or move their events. When March 2020 came around,
Surely.
we worked on being their partners. And first of all, we're in the middle of a force majeure challenge. Mm-hmm. There's not much I can do other than be a great help. But that was something that was... it resonated with me, the fact that they made points to quite a few of them to come for a night just to see us, sign contracts in person just because. And we're talking about coming from Greenville, other side of the state, upstate. We have a 70% repeat.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
That's unheard
awesome.
of.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. I have never experienced that before. Obviously, it brings a lot of amazing things with it. It brings some other challenges, opportunities, and it's okay. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Sure,
We
good
have
problems to
great
have,
partnerships.
right?
Absolutely. But as we look at the future, we look to grow. It's easier for us to be able to plan our growth, knowing that we have such a robust, loyal, client base.
Well, and to know that the bookings are so strong, as you say, up to 5 years out, 3 to 5 years
Yes.
out, that makes things like decisions to renovate and so forth that you mentioned as we were talking about current projects.
Yes.
It makes them a little bit more less stressful, maybe, because if I understand anything about the industry, it's that doesn't happen without a plan, and it also is very costly to do. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the renovation work that you've been working on.
That's an interesting one because you're right. It does help in so many ways, but it also adds challenges in other ways. Again, clients want to have their events and they don't want to be bothered even if they're going to benefit from it next year. There's conversations that you'll still want to have and ensuring that we're setting them up for success as much as possible. Again, we're owned by the city and we have capital improvement plans all the time, every year. Some are the beautiful ones that everyone sees. Others are the less sexy ones, like, AC units and HVAC units, which are so imperative but very costly. We are just about to finish the full renovation of our bathrooms as well as our corridors. We did our guest rooms last year. They were supposed to be done about 3 years ago, but obviously with COVID and then the product issues and labor challenges that were all met, that really set us back. Mm-hmm. So some of these clients that are going through the reno right now were working with us 2 years ago in figuring things out. We're very lucky. We are very lucky. Also, we're lucky that our leadership has been able to manage the remodel very well and try to cancel as much of the opportunities as possible. So I appreciate them greatly. Looking forward, we have a few more phases of projects in the future. Still waiting on the details, so it's very early on, but I know that our lobby will get a nice remodel soon. Our outlets will get remodeled again, which is impressive to me. Most hotels don't have this much capital improvement opportunity. Usually you got at best 7, normally 10 to 15 that hotels tend to try to squeeze through. Again, we're partnered. Aimbridge and Marriott are very, very, very tight partners. And Marriott is they are very adamant about making sure that all these things, that all our properties have the seamless feel, so that when the guest is arriving, doesn't matter what city, they feel somewhat of that homey feeling that they may have had at a different Sheraton. So we're working through all those things as we speak. Always a project. A lot of them usually don't affect the guests. We try very hard for that not to be the case, but it's wonderful to be able to say that we are always at the best of our game.
Well, and I love to hear that you always have a capital improvement plan underway.
Yes.
Myrtle Beach is in this kind of revitalization window right now, and to know that one of the key players, i.e. the Sheraton, in that kind of hospitality space, has not only been continually working on a capital plan, but have concrete plans for the future, I think is a good kind of tie into what this podcast is about, which is really to say there are individuals like yourself and your organization that are building a better tomorrow for us, that you manage an asset that is incredibly important to our economy, and you're not just stopping there. You're basically saying we want to be ready for next year and the year after that and whatever else improvements, because things wear out. I mean, we can't expect to grow at the rate that we want to continue to grow, and revitalize with all these plans that are happening by various entities if we don't, number one, have a plan, and number two, have the commitment from all parties to invest at that level, because it doesn't come cheap.
No, it does not. And it's also about being strategic. Where are you spending that money? How are you spending it? You're right. It's very easy to quickly run through piles of money and not get a lot achieved. So being strategic is very important. It's not only a professional thing to me, it's also a personal. It's very personal to me. I love Myrtle Beach. When we moved here, I quickly felt at home. Living in Miami was nice. We were there for 15 years, and I was able to accomplish a lot there and become part of that community. I did not want my children growing in a city that was so much for adults. And it made it challenging for me as a father at the end, because I found myself being guilty when I was at the office and then being guilty when I was at home. At home about the office, at office about home. And the first thing I realized when we moved here was how quickly my family was able to build a community where I could actually pour myself into the passions without worrying about what's happening in the home, and balancing that out. And so this isn't just a professional endeavor to me. This is really a passion of my heart. My daughter now was born here in Myrtle Beach. Since we moved here, Myrtle Beach will always have a place in my heart. Even if my industry ever took me somewhere else, Myrtle Beach will always have a very special place. And I treat it with the same respect that I would hope someone else who is in my role would treat it if I were a resident. That I hope that they'd be looking to bring as much business as possible that would actually be beneficial to the community, not just to our four walls.
Yep.
And that is something that we discuss with every single program that we discuss. I'm a part of every single discussion for every single group that we look at, because it matters. Whatever we're turning away or whatever we're deciding to move forward, keeping those things in mind it's so important. So this is very much a passion of, personal passion for me as well, to see us, but the community continue to grow the way it is.
Yeah. I think you touched on some of the things that again, maybe get a little bit overlooked or overshadowed in that what a great place Myrtle Beach is to raise a family,
Oh my
build a
goodness.
career. You've had a personal experience in the Florida market, but even for other places around the United States, we need to get the word out about what is different, better, and special about us, and to get folks to really begin to consider, might be the word, this place as a long-term home, right? As a place to invest in, as you have.
Yeah.
So, and it takes a village, right? We got to get a lot of people thinking the way you think.
Yes.
To be able to really get the momentum or continue the momentum that's already started.
We've made some great strides.
Yes.
We have made some great strides, especially I feel over the last 5-6 years. We truly have, and I speak as not just a professional in the business, but as a Myrtle Beach resident. I see it. Nothing I love more now than in December or January walking through Broadway and not seeing it be empty like I did when I first started in 2017. It was a very different, where restaurants were shutting down early. We can't do the same things anymore. Like those things just are not happening because the business is showing. The beauty to me about Myrtle Beach is that we are a destination that hosts a lot of tourists, yet we somehow are able to continuously keep to that smaller town feel and vibe and community engagement. That's rare. That's really rare to have as many visitors as Myrtle Beach gets come through here, and yet you still keep the community feeling. That to me is so special. Again, tourism is what drove me to Myrtle Beach, and I find that to be my favorite thing about Myrtle Beach is that we host so many guests, yet at the same time, I walk down the street and I say hello and people say hello back. I know that sounds funny, but you'd be surprised how often that happens to me, even when I'm in a suit.
Yeah, well, and it's actually embedded in the kind of strategic planning for every entity that we've had on this podcast and folks that Partnership Grand Strand has had the chance to interact with, that growth is good, but that we also want to maintain our personality and our uniqueness.
Absolutely.
And building a strategic plan that's going to accomplish both of those is tricky, right? I mean, I believe that the folks that are focused on it are going to pull it off, and it's going to be awesome. But the fact that is being woven into all of the future planning, I think it says a lot for the folks that are working on that long-term strategic plan. So,
agree.
Well,
agree.
Alberto, it's been a pleasure to chat with you. I was going to ask you how you feel about the future of Myrtle Beach, but we already know you love it, and you've seen a lot of change.
I think Myrtle Beach's future is bright. I hope that we will continue to collaborate as not just in my little world, but I mean as a community. Small business is the backbone of our society, and we have seen an immense growth of small business coming into Myrtle Beach, and that's just very inspiring. And I truly hope that folks are encouraged to roll up their sleeves, to get involved in the community, and let's work as a team. And I'm not speaking as Alberto, the director of sales. I'm speaking as Alberto, the citizen of Myrtle Beach. I look forward to being able to help my fellow man and women, partners, grow. And I'm privileged to be in a role where I know clearly what we can do to aid. And my entire team is fully invested in just that.
Well, and I think one of the takeaways for folks that are listening is they really ought to reach out and engage with you as it relates to opportunities that they have for the Sheraton that could potentially take place there, because they might be thinking, well, I'm not big enough, or my group's not, convention center, ready.
Yeah.
We're still kind of
we have
growing
a lot of space.
I was going to say
we have a lot of diverse
be thinking
space.
about you for other reasons,
Absolutely.
not just convention-oriented stuff. So
I have some space that goes from 10-person boardroom all the way to 17,000 square foot ballroom that divides into 5. And of course, we have 100,000 square feet that can be divided into 3 with the convention center. We have a lot of space. So from that angle, we welcome anyone that would like to be with us. We would love to have them. It's been challenging. For us, it's been challenging finding the space. What a wonderful problem to have.
Right,
But
right.
again, that's why we plan the future.
Yep.
So anybody needs anything, let us know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
For having me.
We would love to have you come back if you're willing at some point in time and share some of the other progress and other news that you may want to share. But in the meantime, we look forward to a continually prospering Myrtle Beach area, and to know that we can rely on the Sheraton team and the convention center team to keep that fire burning. So thank you so much for your time.
My honor to be here with you today. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, that wraps up our show for this week. I hope you've enjoyed the info that we've shared today. And if so, please be sure to follow the show so you don't miss any of our future updates. We also welcome any comments, shares, or reviews. But until next time, we hope you stay well and keep thriving.